This is a production of PBS Charlotte.
Just ahead on Carolina Impact, there's a construction boom taking place across the Charlotte region. We'll take you inside a Mount Holly plant, producing lots of drywall for builders here and throughout the Southeast. Plus,
I'm Suzanne Stevens. Are you looking for a job and you're not squeamish? Well, coming up, we'll take a look at what could be one of the hottest jobs in healthcare in the Charlotte area today. And it's not that hard to get.
And I'm excited, the Bloomy Awards are right around the corner. It's high school musical season, but for one longtime teacher, it's her curtain call. Don't go anywhere. Carolina Impact starts right now.
Carolina Impact, covering the issues, people, and places that impact you. This is Carolina Impact.
Good evening. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Amy Burkett. As construction picks up steam, companies supplying building materials are booming. According to Metro Study, we've almost doubled the number of new residential homes across the Charlotte area in the last 5 years. In 2012, there were 6,600 single-family homes under construction. That's now grown to just shy of 11,000. Charlotte now ranks 7th in the nation in home building, and that's good news for a local company supplying wallboard for residential and commercial projects throughout the Southeast. Carolina Impact's Jeff Rivenbark takes us inside National Gypsum's state-of-the-art Gaston County plant.
In a matter of minutes, construction workers install drywall at this church school in South Charlotte. When you see drywall at a commercial or residential job site in our area, there's a good chance it came from here, National Gypsum's plant in Mount Holly. Betty Logan spends much of her day walking from one end of this 400,000 square foot plant to another.
Some days you may get those 8,000, 10,000 steps in.
As quality supervisor, she and her team test drywall samples to ensure every sheet coming off the production line meets company standards.
When I came into the industry, I was blown away by the process itself. It doesn't take but a short period of time to make thousands of square feet of board, and it's amazing.
It all starts here behind the plant, where about 100 trucks dump byproduct gypsum, which is produced when coal-fired power plants use a process called flue gas desulfurization, or FGD, to reduce sulfur dioxide emissions into the atmosphere.
A lot of the stuff that we bring in from Duke Energy is our primary raw material is FGD, would have gone to a landfill.
Machines grind the gypsum into stucco, and it's mixed with water and other materials to make this thick gray liquid substance called slurry.
That slurry is sandwiched between 2 layers of paper, and it goes down what we call a board line, and we form edges. So by the time it gets down to the far end of the line, which is a half a mile long, the board is actually hardened and able to cut to the point we can cut it to lengths.
Along the production line, cameras and computers collect data, ensuring everything's working as it should. Sharp knives cut the wallboard. It is dried before large machines fold and bind the massive sheets together. The Mount Holly plant produces about 2 million square feet of drywall, or about 100 truckloads daily. In a year, the plant makes enough wallboard to build about 100,000 average-size homes.
This plant's geographically located where we can reach into Florida, we can ship into Georgia, South Carolina, or even push up into the mid-Atlantic states at a very low cost.
When a natural disaster strikes,
as Louisiana struggles with historic floods, residents begin to wonder what next.
the company ramps up operations to supply what's needed.
They just had the issues down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana area, and we worked very closely with one of our major customers to actually supply those warehouses. We produced extra product and shipped it down there and made sure they were ready to react to their customers in the area.
For a plant that generates so much product, there's only 85 employees who work here.
For the size of the facility, you'll see very few employees out there. When things run well and everything is behaving properly and following the automation sequence, there's not much to do.
The plant's also received international recognition.
In 2015, this plant was recognized as the Global Gypsum Plant of the Year, which means it was recognized as the best gypsum manufacturing plant in the world. And that's all accredited to the good people that work here and the teams we have in place.
The National Gypsum Company started in 1925 in Buffalo, New York. Back then, sales representatives would take the wallboard to a lumber company, put it on sawhorses, and stack window weights to prove how strong the board was. In In 1993, C.D. Spangler Jr. purchased the company and moved the headquarters to South Charlotte, where about 300 people work today. In addition to the Mount Holly location, the company has 16 other operating plants, 7 gypsum quarries, 3 paper mills, and 10 plants that produce other products. When the company decided to build the Mount Holly plant in 2007, it was a major economic game changer for Gaston County.
Their establishment here allows us to recruit other companies. It allows us to kind of have a good housekeeping seal of approval that if National Gypsum chose this location, it must be fairly good. Since they've come, we've had a huge run from European investment and also from a lot of advanced manufacturing companies that are located in and around the county.
When you're trying to lure companies, Hicks says it's also important to show you've got a skilled workforce to fill jobs.
And the best way to prove that is to have somebody that's already here doing those types of things. So having National Gypsum here with the types of sophisticated process that they have is a way that we can prove that our workforce can run these types of facilities. And it has helped us.
Back on the production line, Betty Logan says she feels a great sense of pride.
I have driven up to work sites, job sites, and I looked at the board and I see that time code and I see that 029 and I know it came from Mount Holly. I know it's a quality product. You're building communities. You're making dreams come true.
She's grateful to work for a company that makes it possible for others to build or rebuild communities one wall at a time. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jeff Rivenbark reporting.
Thanks so much, Jeff. National Gypsum employs about 2,100 people across the United States and Canada. Well, with all the construction taking place in Charlotte and neighboring counties, green space is becoming a rare commodity as our population grows. Last year, more than 250,000 people visited the Ann Springs Close Greenway in Fort Mill, South Carolina. As Carolina Impact's Jason Terzis shows us, the Greenway has become a sanctuary in the middle of heavy development.
Horses grazing in a pasture, old log cabins, little streams flowing along. It might feel like you're in the Old South, way out in the country, or took a step back in time, but the reality, you're just a few minutes from the hustle and bustle of the Queen City.
We're hooked. We're hooked. It's a great place.
The Ann Springs Close Greenway, just 18 miles from uptown Charlotte, 5 miles to Pineville, 3 to downtown Fort Mill.
It's just a real comfort.
When most people in Charlotte think Greenway, they likely think of an asphalt path for walking, jogging, and biking. But this Greenway is much more than that.
Even just here in the Fort Mill community, but South Charlotte, they haven't really heard of us, or if they've heard of the Greenway, they do. They think of those urban greenways. And we really are more of a true nature preserve with a lot of history, a lot of activities going on out here, and just a lot to see and explore.
With 2,100 acres, the Ann Springs Close Greenway is more than 2.5 times the size of New York Central Park. It has lakes, forests, and pastures that include 40 miles of trails for hiking, biking, and horseback riding. There's also fishing, kayaking, mountain biking, and camping.
I like to mountain bike. That's my primary thing.
One of the must-dos is walking across the swinging wooden bridge. Careful now.
The most popular activity out here is probably dog walking. There are so many people who just every single day, this is their backyard.
Got the rolling hills, so you get lots of exercise. And it's a good place for a dog to be a dog.
Rob Pritchard lives in Marvin. He came with a friend for the first time in January. Loved it so much, he became a member.
The wife and I walk it at least 6 days a week. And we walk about a 4-mile loop around the lake. I like it in that people here are very friendly.
The Greenway currently has 17,000 members. Mina McLean works as the Greenway's community events coordinator. She's been coming to the Greenway for about as long as she can remember.
I grew up sort of out on these trails hiking and riding horses. I attended summer camps, and I learned how to ride at the horse barn, learned how to swim at the recreation complex pool, took tap and jazz dancing at the complex. So really grew up out here.
Mina even celebrated her big day on the grounds.
I did. I had my wedding reception here on the property at the field trial barn, which is a little bit more rustic than the dairy barn, but it was beautiful.
The history of this land goes back centuries. It's named in honor of Ann Springs Close.
One of my great-great-great-grandfathers leased the land from the Indians. They didn't sell it. They leased it to the first settlers, and then later they got title to it. But it's been in my family for many generations.
For decades, the land provided recreation for thousands of employees at textile mills in York, Chester, and Lancaster counties. But as the mills shut down, the land was opened up to everyone. And with Charlotte growing at a rapid pace, Ann Springs Close wanted to provide a buffer to Fort Mill.
I guess what really scared me was Pineville just got swallowed up. The Pineville I knew as a little girl, which was a mill town, was swallowed up and disappeared, and I didn't want to see that happen to Fort Mill.
The catch? Getting all 8 of her children to agree to donate the land.
Anyone could veto, so it took all 8 of them to agree, which they did, and I'm very proud of them for having done that.
Ann jokes that it's the only time all 8 of her kids have actually agreed on anything. And so, after several years of planning, setbacks, and construction, the Ann Springs Close Greenway officially opened in 1995.
I remember being there that first day for the dedication and a tree being planted, and our family were charter members. We became members at that point and have been ever since.
The land is listed under a conservation easement, which means no development can ever take place.
We've done everything we possibly can to be sure that no way in the future can it be developed, that it will always be a greenway.
At 91, Ann Springs Close still lives on the property and still walks the trails.
Cars over here. Right here? Yeah.
The Greenway recently launched a campaign to raise $211,000 annually to pay for maintenance. As a not-for-profit entity, the Greenway receives no tax dollars to build, maintain, or operate. It's funded by memberships, program fees, and donations. As part of its campaign, the Greenway launched April is Love the Greenway Month, complete with a series of events culminating in the annual Earth Day celebration coming up on April 22nd. The free event will include music, guided tours, horseback rides, trail rides, and other activities.
We'll have food trucks, we'll have all kinds of activities, hands-on, environmental activities for kids and families, lots of guided hikes that day.
Earth Day is our special event, and Earth Day is sort of our gift to the public, so it's always, I insist that it always stay a free event.
With its trails, lakes, and natural beauty, the Ann Springs Close Greenway might just make you forget that Charlotte is right up the street. And that's exactly its purpose. For Carolina Impact, I'm Jason Tergis reporting.
Well, joining me now is Crandall Bowles, who serves on the Greenway's Board of Managers, and she's also the daughter of Ann Close. Crandall, we're so very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for being with us.
Well, thank you for being interested in the Greenway and inviting me.
Well, help us understand a little bit. Where does your passion for preservation come from?
I would have to say it comes directly from my mother, who, while we were growing up, for one thing, we were in Fort Mill, which was not nearly as developed as it is now. So we were surrounded by woods and various things, and she felt that unless it was 100 degrees or freezing outside, we should be outside when it was daylight. And so we spent our childhoods, I have 7 brothers and sisters, and we all wandered around in the woods, and she was very, she joined us many times to point things out and make sure we appreciated it.
Well, you know, that had to be tough too. As I understand, you had to get all the brothers and sisters to agree to donate this land for preservation. Was that tough?
We did. Actually, luckily, our youngest sister was left out of that, and so that was probably fortunate, but she was right along there with us. But we did, and our grandfather set that up, and we actually signed the papers to create the Greenway in 1989, right after Hugo, and the electricity hadn't come back, so we signed them all in candlelight because we had set up the day to do it, and we did it, and we all have gone forward ever since, and of course my mother's assumed the leadership and has done a fantastic job with it.
The Ann Springs Close Greenway, I actually live in Fort Mill, so I've had the good fortune to go there and enjoy it, and it's beautiful, and it just really is this kind of, you feel like you're far away when you're only, you know, maybe 15 or so miles from uptown Charlotte.
Right.
How has that been as you've seen the city of Fort Mill grow and the city of Charlotte grow, to know that there is this really gorgeous piece of natural life that so many people can take advantage of?
Well, you know, now when I drive right by, I have an office there in Fort Mill, and I drive by the Greenway every day when I go down there, and I'm so proud of it. I mean, I think that's how it's been, that we've been able to conserve it. Because when we grew up, of course, there was nothing approaching that there. And we've watched several phases of Fort Mill growth, and this last has been, it's almost overwhelming, as you know, if you live there.
Absolutely.
And so to be able to go somewhere where you can literally walk out on trails and not see any other people and be in the woods and, you know, play in the creek and that kind of thing, I think it's a wonderful thing. And we did it just in time, I think.
Just in time. Talk to us a little bit about the historical significance of that land.
Well, the land was there, well, obviously it's always been there, and my family's lived there for 5 or 6 generations, and, you know, it was the history of the South, the cotton mills and that kind of thing, and cheap labor and, you know, development along those lines, and then more recently what you have seen. But I think even further back there was a wagon trail that started up in New England and went all the way down to below the Carolinas, and we've got remnants of that you can see on the Greenway. During the Revolutionary War and the Civil War, there's tracks and roads and artifacts and things that went on during that. So we went through all the history of the, you know, cotton fields, that kind of thing, and that the country has gone through. We've got some old cabins. We've preserved some artifacts and some. I think it's Billy Graham's grandfather had a cabin. We literally brought it to the Greenway, and people can go in there and see how, you know, how people lived at that time.
How extraordinary, you know, and the Wilderness Society is something that you actually sit on the national board as well, kind of a springboard from what you and your family do in the Fort Mill area. Talk to us a little bit about that, how it's all connected.
Well, my mother, actually, I was following in her footsteps. She was on their board, and I'm on the board now, and they have a very specific purpose to maintain preserve wilderness areas. Most of it's in the West, but there is a piece in North Carolina, and it has to be designated by the government, which then you get into all the politics and things. But they have been very impressed with what we've done with the Greenway and the way we've been able to preserve it. And I would say that one of the, you know, there's so much going on in the Greenway now in terms of bringing people in and letting people share it, and that was the reason we set the whole thing up. But my mother reminds us that her initial impetus in wanting to do it was preservation, was to ensure that land wouldn't be developed and that it would be preserved. And when we signed that to set up the Greenway, you know, we knew that nobody could ever do anything with that land. You can't sell it, you can't develop it. It's controlled by the Nations Ford Land Trust. It will always be there. I mean, it would be impossible to undo. So that'll be
what a beautiful
preserved.
Hidden treasure of the Charlotte region. Crandall Bowles, who sits on the board at the Ann Springs Close Greenway, we're so excited that you shared a little bit of this information, allowed our cameras to go on site and see it. We appreciate your time so very much.
We appreciate you doing it.
Have you visited your doctor lately? Well, there's a good chance when you go, you'll no longer see a nurse first. To cut costs and be more efficient, many physician practices are hiring certified medical assistants instead. As Carolina Impact's Suzanne Stevens explains, this trend is creating great job opportunities.
Hey there. My name is Tin, and I'll be helping you guys with your splint today.
I was running, and I tripped.
Uh-oh. Annalise Bradley fell down when she was running, and yep, she broke her arm. Her nurse here at Ortho Carolina is putting a splint on to immobilize her arm before surgery. Wait a second. Rewind. That's not a nurse. Tin Tron is a certified medical assistant.
Are you in any pain at the moment right now?
No.
No. Make sure if I'm hurting you, you let me know, okay?
Okay.
He's been with Ortho Carolina for almost 2 years, and he does a lot.
Help. I need somebody help. Not just anybody help.
We do lab work, we do urine analysis, we can do administrative work, and we can also assist in minor procedures.
Help me if you can, I'm feeling down. And I do appreciate you being around.
Jarte Wallace is a colleague, and she too is a certified medical assistant, or CMA. She also works directly one-on-one with patients.
I remove sutures or staples. I take off dressings. Sometimes I even apply dressings. One of my favorite things that I love to do is the minor procedure room when I assist my physician in surgery.
CMAs like Jarte cannot work in a hospital, only a doctor's office. Nurses work in hospitals. Ortho Carolina, like many physician groups, uses just about only CMAs in the office and heavily relies on them.
A whole lot every day. They are our main focus in our clinical area. They are used 100% prior to the provider ever seeing the patients in the office.
Christy Britton is responsible for hiring the CMAs in the pediatric division. She looks for clinical skills plus other qualifications.
I look for someone who's very professional, who's very compassionate, who wants to work with people.
In North Carolina, medical assistants earn about half of what nurses make, so it's cost-effective for a practice to hire them. Also, there's a shortage of nurses. The U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics says there will be more than 1 million unfilled nursing jobs in 10 years.
This is one of the medical assisting laboratories here at Central Piedmont Community College, which is one of 5 schools in our area that offers this teaching program. 100% of the students here get their certification, and they come from all stages of life. In fact, very few of them are right out of high school. Donna Shangela is a student in the program. She has been a stay-at-home mom for 20 years, but now wants a paying job.
So I looked around and I felt like the medical career was a good field to go into. I thought this program is going to be quick because it's only a year long for the diploma. So it really made a lot of sense for me to pursue this.
It takes these students 11 months of study to become a CMA, and they must pass a certification test. In the lab, they work with real body fluids. They work with real sterile instruments, and they give real injections, all under the watchful eye of an instructor. The job outlook is good. The demand for CMAs is projected to grow by 23% in the next 10 years. Kathy Flores, who runs the medical assisting program at CPCC, says jobs are out there.
Oh, it's very high demand, very high. Our students, when they go on their practicum, which is about 8 weeks, they're usually hired before they're finishing their practicum.
Help me get my feet back on the ground. Won't you please help me?
So know that as medicine moves forward, you will likely see more and more medical assistants when you need to see a doctor.
We're able to fit in anywhere, and so now families, I don't think they're able to see it or they don't understand yet, but CMAs do a lot, and we're there and we can do it.
Help me, help me.
For Carolina Impact, I'm Suzanne Stevens reporting.
Thanks so much, Suzanne. You'll find more information about salaries and the job outlook for CMAs posted with this story on the Carolina Impact page at pbscharlotte.org. Well, one of my favorite times of year, the Blumey Awards honor the Charlotte area's best in high school musical theater. This year, 45 high schools across 10 counties are participating. The awards ceremony, which you'll see only on PBS Charlotte, is a celebration of all the hard work and long hours schools put into these student productions. Over the next few weeks, we'll preview the Blumeys with a series of stories on the behind-the-scenes work that goes into creating these high-quality shows. Jeff Saunders uptown at the Blumenthal. Hey Jeff, a lot of theater kids this time of year are getting ready for what they hope is their big moment on the red carpet, right?
Yeah, Amy, obviously Blumey night here at the theater, a big night for everybody involved in local high school theater, and not just the kids either, but also their teachers. And this year, Blumey's saying goodbye to one of its originals. Barbara Mager is a longtime CMS theater teacher and director who's been here on Blumey night since almost the beginning. And her kids, over the years, well, they've won their share of Blumey's hardware. Well, this year, Barbara is bowing out. Gracefully, yeah, but not exactly quietly. The stage is Butler High School in Matthews. The show is Once Upon a Mattress.
All right, now sing.
Lots of big moments.
I've always been shy.
For all those big voices. And then there's that other big voice in the back.
What are we waiting on? I'm sorry?
I mean, she shouts a lot, and you get used to that, so.
Okay, let's try something different. Quiet. Quiet.
She's not afraid to, project her voice.
I have a big voice. And sometimes I have to make my presence known.
Barbara Mager's been a presence here at the Butler High Theater ever since the school opened 20 years ago.
Crew, in the middle. Where Devin, can you get in here?
And before Butler, well, she taught theater and English at other schools for another 19 years. That's 39 years of yearbook photos that Mager would probably rather forget. And 39 years of musicals and plays that these kids and their audiences will never forget.
Mrs. Mager I love her so much. She's such an amazing theater teacher. It's incredible. It's really cool to hear her stories from a while ago and to see how far she's come and how far the theater has come in that time.
When I first came here, I was a new kid, short, chubby, blonde hair, didn't know anything. And I came into theater, and the way she talked to me, no one's ever talked to me that way before.
She's stern, but she's so loving with everything she says. She wants to make sure everything's the best and that you're living up to your full potential, whether it being in drama or just in life. She's a really good person to go to. She's the best.
I love my kids. I love the opportunity to see them grow and change. That's a cool thing that teachers get. And not everybody has a job where you can go home at the end of the night and you know that you affected somebody in some way. Teachers get to do that every day. So I love it.
Now it's back to you. Think you can do it? Yes. Shh. Now, concentrate and give her the focus. Give her the focus.
Mager's classes learn about the theater in the front row of the theater.
If you're on stage and you forget your line, you can't start laughing. We can laugh at you, but you can't laugh there.
Practicing theater skills that become life skills when the curtain closes and the show's over.
To make you think and focus. We have a lot of trouble in this class with focusing, don't we? There are a lot of distractions.
After school, during rehearsal, Mager moves from the front row to the back row, tweaking and critiquing with the other teachers who make up Butler's theater team, including longtime chorus director Lorna Graves, who's also retiring this year.
I have enjoyed a lot of what we've managed to accomplish as a team together here. So I think, I'll definitely miss that companionship and that work that we put in together.
This is Barbara's school. This is her program. She's the only theater teacher that has ever been at Butler. And so those are massive shoes to fill.
She knows what she wants and she asks for it and she's not afraid of that. And so I think having other teachers that want the same thing, we just all jump on board and make it happen.
You built something really strong here. You built a program here.
I didn't do it by myself.
I know, but you had a huge hand in building a really strong program here that others can build upon too.
It's my legacy, but also those kids are my legacy.
I love her. Like when I first had her in my beginner's class, she was just like a little overbearing, but she only does that because she knows like you need to get serious.
Telling me that like I had potential, and it definitely made me more confident in doing things like this.
And we call her Mama Mager, affectionately, because she is she's like everybody's mentor. We all look up to her.
You love your job and you've been doing this job for a long time, but when everyone points to you and say, boy, she's been doing this for a long time, I mean, how does that make you feel?
I feel old. Number one, I feel old. I feel blessed. I will celebrate. I will always come back and see the kids. When they're successful, that makes me happy. When they're happy, I'm happy.
Barbara Mager adds that it's hard retiring. She still loves it, but it's time. So what's next? Well, since she won't be competing here at the Bloomies anymore, how about judging the Bloomies? Just a thought. Amy?
Thanks so much, Jeff. Mark your calendar. The Bloomie Awards premieres here on PBS Charlotte Tuesday, May 30th at 8 p.m. Please check our website for other encore presentations. I'm really excited because I get to be one of the co-hosts again this year with our good friend Maureen O'Boyle from WBTV. These kids blew me away last year with their talent, and I can't wait to see what they've created for us to enjoy this year. Well, that's all the time we have this evening. Thanks so much for joining us. We always appreciate your time and look forward to seeing you back here again next time on Carolina Impact. Good night, my friends.
Production of PBS Charlotte.